in thinking about the system as a whole, the next question we want to address is how the decisions are made about the dispatch of resources. So let's think about who does the dispatch. One possibility is we could dispatch by locality. Another is that we can dispatch by a central system operator. Let's start with dispatch by locality. Dispatch across more than one locality will generally have lower costs than separate dispatch by different localities. So if we can take two localities and arrange for joint dispatch of their resources, then we can, generally speaking, will get lower cost generation than if each locality dispatches their own power. And the best way to see that is to work through an example. Suppose we have two states. State B, for baseload, has 100 megawatts of baseload power, and State S has 100 megawatts of solar and peaker. So State S and State B both need 75 megawatt hours today. Let's just as an example. We have our two states. They each have 100 megawatts of capacity, and now for the next hour, each of them needs 75 megawatt hours. So if the states didn't trade, then they would each generate their own electricity with their own marginal unit, whereas if they dispatched together, they would dispatch in merit order dispatch with their combined cost curves. So let's just go back to our supply stack. State A needs 75 megawatt hours. State B needs 75 megawatt hours. If they each provide their own 75 megawatt hours, then State A will produce 75 with solar, State B will produce 75 with baseload. But this could be done more cheaply if we took 25 of that baseload power and used some of the excess solar capacity here. The extra 25 megawatt hours of solar capacity could be provided at zero marginal cost instead of the $22.50 marginal cost of the baseload coal. So we save $22.50 times the 25 megawatt hours of power. We could have it for $0 marginal cost. Instead, we're paying $22.50 in marginal cost. So joint dispatch between these two localities would have saved substantial amounts of money. In this case, it would have saved $562 to dispatch jointly between the localities rather than dispatching separately. So joining the marginal cost schedules of two localities allows for a cheaper access to a cheaper supply stack than if you have two separate supply stacks, one for each locality. The least cost dispatch would be 100 megawatts of solar and 100 megawatt hours of solar and 50 megawatt hours of baseload. But this wouldn't be what would occur if you had state-by-state dispatch. So we conclude that dispatch across more than one locality will generally be cheaper than dispatch locality by locality. Now, we're not taking into account transmission costs yet. We'll always, of course, we'll need to take into account transmission costs, and we'll talk about transmission costs in a minute. So multi-state dispatch can take advantage of cost savings from multi-state merit order dispatch, but you need to have three mechanisms in place. You have to have a bidding mechanism to build the supply stack, and it has to have available all of the generating resources across both states. You have to have transmission capacity between the localities, And because you can have congestion, and we'll talk about this more in a little bit, you need to have some way of pricing this congestion. So bringing the cost of transmission congestion into the cost of providing the electricity. So that's the second condition. The third condition is dispatch coordination. So you need a bidding mechanism to develop the supply stack. You need transmission between localities and some mechanism of accounting for the cost of transmission, and dispatch coordination. And each one of these things has benefits. Bidding mechanism to build a supply stack we've talked about in earlier modules. Transmission capacity has its own benefits. And finally, dispatch coordination. But together, the benefits are even greater. If you have all three of these, then you can organize central dispatch of your distributed generating resources in a way that gives you the lowest cost electricity.